Hello everyone! Today we watch people pettily revenge on their neighbors, land developers, sorority members, and postal companies. Please subscribe for daily videos with the best stories from all over Reddit. I have just reached 30 subscribers, which is like 10 subscribers in just one day! That's so cool! I hope that I could reach 40 this fast too. Let's go! My grandpa refuses to sell his backyard to developers. Development has been taken over my hometown. It is inevitable, of course, as a lot of people from major cities further up north are moving out here. But it's sad at the same time seeing the fields and forests I used to play in growing up being paved over and turned into condominiums and strip malls. It has also caused the cost of living to increase tremendously in all the area where many people are already struggling to pay afloat. So, as you can imagine, my grandfather, the old stubborn Dutchman who moved here and lived in this property since the 50s, has something to say about it. The street my grandfather lives on used to be backed by a massive forest, but in recent years developers have bought all of the forest and 90% of it has been torn down except for this one small, probably 2-acre chunk of forest in the middle of this open field where my grandfather refuses to sell his land. Of course, this is bringing the developers' plans to a halt as they can't pave and build around this single chunk of forest, so all they can really do is wait for him to sell his land. He has been in conflict with these developers for over a year now, and from my understanding, they are offering a lot of money. Well, knowing my grandfather, for as long as he stands on his earth, absolutely no amount of money will convince him to sell that land. I know how frustrating this is for some people, specifically the developers who want nothing more than to throw up some cardboard houses and poking close to a meal per. But I have decided that when my grandfather's time is up, I will continue his legacy and make sure that piece of land is never sold. That is my petty revenge. I am with you and your grandfather 100% because I personally can see a little chunk of forest from my window and I would pay, well, I guess I wouldn't pay all money I have, but what I would really want is never that forest to disappear, because what can be more joyful, what can be more nice and peaceful as to see some nature from your window. I think it's always great. So yeah, your grandfather is a champion and I hope that you will be strong and you will continue to do the same thing as he does. Let's move on to the next story. Me versus UPS. So I recently had a run with UPS. Someone said I should post the saga here. Let's read it. UPS smashed a nearly new MacBook that I sent with them. I asked them nicely to pay me back for it and they arsed about it, blaming me, blaming my packaging, saying it was impossible they damaged it, etc. I was able to prove my packaging was flawless and get a statement from the Apple shop that I took it to say it was damage caused by being dropped or thrown. I could also prove it worked when I sent it. They weren't interested and messed me about for weeks, sending me from pillar to post, even threatening to make me pay interest on customs changes which I wasn't liable for as the laptop was smashed on arrival and thus worthless at import. I took it to small claims. They hired a lawyer who sent me letters saying they contested it and would go for full fees, etc. if I lost. I went for it anyway. I did law stuff university, so I knew the basics and thought my case was pretty clear-cut. I won my costs back plus extra plus interest. They ignored the court order and did not pay. Now, this laptop was originally being sent to my beloved mother-in-law. She asked me to help her with the problem as UPS were also seriously harassing her for the custom fees. And very unexpectedly, before I could resolve it, she passed away. It was the last thing she ever asked me to do for her. I loved that woman more than pretty much any human on this planet. She was my mother, my best friend, and my mentor. Taking down UPS was now my personal vendetta. I researched my options. I could have taken the usual, more conservative legal routes to reclaim my money. But no, F them. I don't care about the money anymore. I want revenge. I want drama. I want karmic justice. I went to the High Court. I got a bit of control. I, of course, added on more fees and more interest. I hired the most aggressive bailiff firm in London. I trusted that the crappy processes and attitude of UPS to mean they would ignore the letters and actually get a visit. They did. The bailiffs rock up at the UPS headquarters and explain the situation. UPS refused to pay, so the bailiffs start listing goods. Security tried to make them leave, the officer manager tries to bully them out. Obviously, no crabs are given by the bailiffs and they crack on with their jobs. I wasn't allowed the body cam footage, but they did send me a detailed report. The final conclusion from it is copied below. Calls were then made to the accounts manager, who arrived in a hurry. As no payments were forthcoming from them, the agent again explained the removal process and costs involved and called the office for approval to begin removals. The agent began to seize assets. The finance director then arrived on the scene. He was not at all happy about the attendance, but ultimately agreed to pay a voluntary payment in full from his personal account in order to stop the removal. I know it's a drop in the ocean to UPS, but I got more than double what I originally asked to replace the laptop. They would have had to pay even more on top in fees to the bailiffs. I reckon it cost them at least 3 times more than the original claim in the end. But mostly, I just enjoy the mental image of the flustered finance director and his impotent rage, having to pay his own money to step the heavy stake in desktop computers and fancy pot plants and things out of their swanky head office lobby. Well, actually, I find this story a little bit sad because you loved your mother-in-law so much and she asked you for a computer and you wanted to help her, and then this happened and she passed away. But at least you feel better that you revenged her. Let's move to the next story. My small studio apartment really only had one place that made sense to put a bed. So my upstairs neighbor's bed was inevitably directly above my own. I never met them in the year I lived there, yet I become thoroughly acquainted with the fact that their bed squeaked. At the time, awakening me from a dead sleep at 3 in the morning required vigorous levels of squeakage, but my neighbor managed it several times a week with impressive duration. It took a while, but I eventually decided on an appropriate reason to that was, after all, an unintended, a very real annoyance. I just needed to wait for the next squeak-phonic performance to put it into effect. The wait was not a long one. 26 years later, I still fondly imagine their reaction the next morning to finding on their doormat a large can of WD-40 with the note attached reading simply, "Your bed squeaks." Whatever that reaction actually was, I never heard another squeak from them. Actually, I love this story. It's so innocent and funny and, I don't know, spicy at the same time. I love it. Okay, let's move to the next one and last one for today. Too loud. Sorority rented floor above ours. We shared our Wi-Fi with them, didn't make a peep about weird jumping, throw their body to the floor game, streams of people and parties from Thursday to Sunday, asked politely twice to tone it down during midterms on Tuesday and Wednesday. They did not and were rude about it. They also did not notice that we regulated our hot water use like reasonable neighbors so that our giant bathtub did not drain it from the rest of the building in one go, or that it was entirely our choice. Weekend rolls around and they are all about to start getting ready to go out. I filled myself a lovely long bubble bath 3 nights in a row. Only one other tenant in occupancy, a morning shower once a week guy who wholeheartedly supported this punitive measure as weekly surprise suspension or whenever we got sick of their crap. Also strategically gobbled bandwidth to annoy and inconvenience instead of immediately locking it down. On one hand, I am with you and I support you because they are being, douchebags. But on the other hand, it feels like you are like teeny tiny bit too much crappy about it. So I'm not sure. Guys, what do you think? I mean, I think it's kind of, like a am I the butthole situation. So what do you think? Also, here are the links to more Reddit videos on my channel. Check them out. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more. Bye!